Hello guys, I just finished watching the new West Side Story, and here are my top 3 reasons why it blows the original away. Number 1, the casting. In my opinion, the entire cast in the remake is better than the original. And this is especially true of Maria. I think she's a better actress. I think she portrayed the grief a lot better. And it was much more relatable because she did not look like your typical Hollywood starlet. She looked like a rather cute girl, like maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10 in real life, who you would expect to see riding in the New York City subway system. And this allowed us to really see her better, see her as a real person. Well, especially because she was actually Hispanic and not a white woman pretending to be Hispanic. And this goes for the entire cast, actually. And Tony was better too. He's less handsome than the Tony from the original. And he doesn't look as smooth. But that's the point. Okay? Because 99.99% of the audience that are men that are watching it are not like the Tony from the original. Okay? Most of us cannot speak very well, whether we like to admit it or not, and we probably are not very good at dancing, and it shows in the way we move, and our noses are not symmetrical. In seeing an everyman like the new Tony, a lot of the men see ourselves, and we're able to relate better, right? That it makes it much more believable that these two are in love with each other, not because of their looks. Number 2, the sets. There are some things where you have film differences between the 60s and 2021, which it's a wash either way. And then there's just more attention to detail in newer films, because I believe of number 1, budgeting, and number 2, of filming capabilities. However, I got a much better sense of an old New York City from watching the remake, which is ironic because they had direct access to an old New York City when they were making the original. There was never once when I watched the original West Side Story where I thought I was looking at people in New York City. And this was not the case when I watched the remake. Number 3, subversion of racism. I think it's not controversial to say that the original had racist themes in it. And not that people are racist, but it was racist. And it wasn't the fault of the film. It was playing to an audience of its time in order to get butts in seats. However, there are many things in the original film which were racist beyond the casting. Number one was, well, there were many things. Many things. Some of them have to do with ignorance, but Bernardo was a villain in the original. He was a villain, and he wasn't at all in the remake. And everything still made perfect sense. And of course, you had hindsight. You had decades of hindsight in order to come up with something better. And obviously, I wouldn't even say it obviously built off the original. I felt like it went more to the source, which was Romeo and Juliet, than the actual original West Side Story. And another case, which was of fixing a racism without ruining the film in the remake, was the fight scene between Bernardo and Tony. In both films, Bernardo was a boxer, but in the original, he was subdued by Tony very easily, even though he was a boxer. And he was sort of a pathetic character. And the only reason that I can come up with of why he lost so easily to Tony in the original was because he was not white. But this was fixed in the remake because they added the little detail of salt on the ground. As a martial artist, this made perfect sense to me because the presence of salt on the ground prevented the boxer or the stand-up oriented fighter from implementing his footwork and generating power in his strikes. And this was a major advantage to Tony, who was much bigger and was able to take it to the ground where the boxer was powerless. Again, this is not fair to the original because, number one, it came first and it did not know that there was a problem. And number two is the proliferation of mixed martial arts and a lot of people seeing how fights would turn out and why. I don't smoke, sorry, thank you. That forced the film to make that particular fight scene more realistic in order to not get people to cringe. Alright, so these are my top 3 reasons why the new West Side Story blows the old one away. Thank you for watching if you did, and I'll come back next time with another random video.